Hi guys, if you didn't know, there was just an edit made to the balance patch, which does affect some of the content, and recently a video that I just put out, and I mean, can't really edit it now, so I'm going to maybe put a little bit of a disclaimer in that video to talk about it, but Mort was just changed a little bit, not, I think, in such a game-changing, game-breaking way that it, I guess, removes how effective he is, but it is worth noting that he's been changed ahead of time, and I want to talk about this and some of the implications that it may have, and some thoughts that I have about the change in general. So without further ado, let's get into it. To be clear, Mort and Silverblade Aramintha were both changed, and Mort's is a little bit different, personally, because I think the change isn't so very easily a buff per se, or so easily interpreted as a buff, where the Silverblade Aramintha one, in my opinion, is. So basically, what the Mort change is that formerly, he was changed from having the effect of Sacred Blessing, which is the S2 passive that he has. Formerly, it was changed from giving critical hit resistance to the team, which is honestly pretty good, to that of granting Skill Nullifier. However, now it's been changed again from Skill Nullifier to Barrier. Now, there are a couple reasons why. Of course, this could be good. Maybe Barrier is kind of nice if you're trying to prevent more than one turn or more than one instance of damage. Barrier does prevent things like AoE pop damage from being super effective. It does also prevent certain characters that provide or, apply injury from being a little bit less effective. However, a lot of players, I would imagine, do agree that Skill Nullifier is pretty powerful. Critical hit resistance, honestly, is even more powerful too. However, what I would say is that without knowing much about the stats of or how much or how powerful this barrier is going to be, this looks, generally speaking, like a less versatile defensive effect on the passive. Now, if you don't believe this to be the case, that's totally fine, but as per Smallgate's own wording, you can read right here, it says, to enhance Mort's allies' protection abilities, the Sacred Blessing effect was going to be changed from increasing critical hit resistance to granting Skill Nullifier. However, we found this change provided high defense even in unexpected circumstances. To get things straight out of the way, I think it's crazy that they made the change themselves, and they took time, obviously, to look into Mort's change, and they already found the character to be strong, or this to be super strong, even though there's literally no testing done on live server or anything like that. Okay, whatever. But the thing that's kind of interesting is that following this, what it said was, or what they say is that therefore the effect will be adjusted once again from granting Skill Nullifier to a Barrier effect. Continuing on, they mention that while this may reduce its ability to block a single huge damage, it'll be more effective against repeated attacks or a type of attack that injures or that inflicts injury continuously. Now, I agree. Barrier is one of the best ways to deal with injury in the game, since there is no leaked Harsetti kit that fully cleanses injury or anything like that. But the implications that they somehow saw that this was going to be more powerful, despite there literally being, I don't think I had read anyone specifically saying that, oh, the Skill Nullifier from Mort is super broken and it's unbelievably OP. I don't think I'd really seen that from anywhere around the community or from Stovepost, Discord, etc. Even on the videos that I was browsing around to see if anyone was talking about Mort in this way, the most I'd seen was wow, let's go Mort. I love Mort, and that's great. I'm really happy that Mort gets to see some play, because he's a really, lovable, memeable character. But I just think it's a little sometimes I get really confused by what Smilegate and what epicseven means when they write out these little descriptions. like what does "we found this change provided high defense even in unexpected circumstances" mean? If they just said that, hey, we're gonna make this change because like it wasn't originally intended to be skill nullifier, or they just didn't explain themselves, then okay. But this explanation also doesn't feel very satisfying or even necessarily make sense. I don't truly understand what exactly like the unexpected circumstance could be. And furthermore, again, like the whole point of this is I don't know who necessarily feels that this is too high defense. Like, I mean, Mort already is a character that had so little playtime and had so much or so little what is it, interest or kind of like focus on him as a character prior to this change, that I feel like this explanation feels I don't want to say misleading or misguided, but it's so short, brief, and kind of vague that I don't really know what they mean. Now, in terms of the actual change itself, I think most players would probably be able to use the skill nullifier way easier than they're probably going to be able to use their barrier, unless the barrier is super big and explosive, and it's like the size of like Brieg's shield. If that's the case, then okay, of course, obviously it's going to be powerful and fantastic. But based on their wording, the implication is that they're going to be giving us a barrier that is weaker than what we'd be getting from the skill nullifier effect, and it's primarily supposed to tone down his effectiveness. Now, again, there are some kind of ridiculous comments that I've seen. I don't know if I can even find it specifically on this page, since I don't know if anyone, in terms of these, like, initial commentary, like, people were saying that this is a good patch, and maybe the most talked about topic originally from this thread was the Spirit's Wrath recall and the auxiliary lots, but Tristan does make this point, and I do think it is worth mentioning about this compensation, because they sent a selector on Mort. I'm kind of torn about this. Now, I get this specifically is kind of, like, I understand that the patch is subject to change, and I kind of agree with Tristan. However, like, the idea is going to be that, or the idea, in my opinion, is that, although it does make sense that you should wait until you invest in a character, I think it's kind of crazy for them to change a character like Mort in the way that they did, like, after the fact, without any public outrage or without any, like, indication otherwise that they would have decided to change him. Again, I still agree with some of the other parts from Tristan's commentary, including, like, the compensation thing, and, like, it'll if we keep complaining every time that something happens, like, they won't maybe do changes like this. And yeah, like, I also think that Mort's going to be pretty good. However, I still think that, again, personally, if I was someone that was a new player, or if I wanted to pick out Mort, and it's not even what I've got, like, maybe 2 weeks or so left before the what is it, like, the actual balance patch comes out. I don't think that this is necessarily, like, an unfair kind of feeling. Like, I don't think it's unfair for players to feel upset about this, just because, well, based on even, like, the most recent video that I made, it's not as though you can necessarily say that, like, oh, learn to invest, because as soon as this shows up and I'm able to log in, people are using, in most cases, decked out selectors and selectors in general for this character. However, like, there's a time limit on these tickets, which I think is the major. Oh my gosh, please. Oh wait, I used mine already. However, the point is that there's like selector, like decked out selector tickets and stuff like this, and there's time limits on these. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that you like should have like waited until the very last absolute moment before, you know, using and committing to pulling for Mort specifically on these, because you have a time limit. And yes, like at most maybe you could have waited another week or two in some cases, but like even for like the selector that I collected, I had 4 days left. And if this Mort change had been done like a week or two later, then I don't know if like necessarily we'd even be in the same kind of situation. Because I think it is kind of fair to say that Mort is definitely worth using the selector in. Now, of course, that doesn't really matter in my opinion, because again, I still think that Mort is going to be kind of impactful, but I'm of the personal opinion that, yeah, like when you change something, or change the expectations of what you are pulling for or what someone is purchasing or investing in, I do think that it is kind of justified for players to be a little bit upset when they kind of have the rug pulled from under them. I do think that 22 days before the patch comes out is kind of ample time for players to adjust and make adjustments to how they invest and how they play a character. And thankfully, the change that they decided to go with Mort, I truly don't think will make him, much worse, even if they're positioning it to be a worse off change just based off of their own wording. Now, again, I fully respect all parties, and I just want a disclaimer that, of course, like I get it. It sucks to lose something that you don't have access to. I also agree that it kind of sucks that, players mindlessly complaining about this without thinking about the implications and potentially scarring Smilegate from ever doing this in the future is also kind of an issue. However, I can see both sides. I'm not really leaning so far into one side or the other that I can't understand why feelings are being hurt or why people are frustrated at one side or the other. So I think all in all, if I had to kind of summarize my thoughts on Mort and the change, I think it sucks, honestly, that they decided to change him at all. Truly, I do not understand, or I'll never be able to understand specifically. I truly do not understand how they decided to change or why they decided to change the skill nullifier to barrier. I'm assuming that there must have been a feedback or a survey or something explained internally. If you guys have any idea, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm more than happy to learn. I seriously can't see, or I haven't seen anyone explain or complain specifically about this. I feel like what I had seen the most commentary about specifically when it comes to Mort and him being too powerful was potentially his fear feeling very similar to something like confusion from Pokemon. And I also saw like people saying that like all heroes except for the caster cannot counterattack thing is honestly kind of crazy. Now, again, that's not what they decided to hit. It was the S2 effect instead. It is what it is, though. Now, before I finish out today's video, we do also have to talk about like a minor small change that they added to Silverblade Aramintha, and that's her change from 6 to 18% attack percent in her imprint concentration to now 9 to 27% effectiveness. What can I say? This is actually a pretty solid change, honestly, for Silverblade Aramintha. I'm honestly pretty surprised that they even care to do changes like this. But with their track record that they have with Judge Kisei specifically, where they decided to go from crit chance to effectiveness because or effectiveness to crit chance, I think, or vice versa, whichever it is. I think it is interesting. Specifically, actually, I don't want to even get that wrong real quick. Let me just check Judge Kisei real quick. Yes, so now her imprint is now effectiveness. Point being that with imprints in general, I think it's interesting that sometimes these don't go in to begin with. This is not even a change, I think, worth like complaining or even talking about. It's kind of just a nice added buff, and her having more effectiveness is always pleasant. It's always enjoyable. It's appreciated. 27% effectiveness might be enough for players to maybe now get her to 300 effectiveness, as opposed to something like 250, assuming you're at that max imprint level. And honestly, this is one of the characters I have the most imprints for, because Aramintha hates me. Anyways, point is, it's a nice change as well. I think maybe with this much effectiveness that she now has in her kit, there's a chance that now she has a better chance of maybe stunning characters like Ocean Breeze Luluka. Maybe can even tag someone like Infinite Horizon Acades. But I suspect, as I'm sure a lot of you guys will also suspect, that this will be a game of whose effect resistance is it anyway, where everyone will be really mad when they land and really mad when they don't, and vice versa. But I also think that Silverblade Aramintha is really strong just because of her combat readiness thing built into her kit right now anyways. So I'm excited to see how she ends up panning out. It was just a minor change, and I don't think this is the highlight or a huge change or a significant change in general. So conclusion, in terms of Silverblade Aramintha, fine, whatever. Nice to have the 27% effectiveness, to be honest. For Mort, guys, I understand it sucks. Like I'm really, I'm trying my best to feel both sides. Like, I get it. Some players definitely just complain just to complain. Like they want they're begging, like, oh my god, Smilegate, how come I stubbed my toe? How come I didn't get a ticket for it? And I get it. That's kind of entitled. It feels kind of annoying, and you know, it's not a great feeling when that's what's being asked every single moment, and that's all you see in the community. However, again, I honestly cannot say that I am fully understanding of what exactly Smilegate is thinking with this. Like, even if they had given a little bit better reasoning behind like the change to Mort, I'd be more I guess on their side. But where is this Mort change? Yeah, there it is. I'd be more on their side when it comes to this Mort change, but this edit, just this explanation for the edit, just to me makes so little sense. Like, it's so needlessly vague. And I get it, they probably want to make it vague so that they don't have to, you know, fully explain the exact scenario that they're referring to. But this is so vague for a change that they're making to a character that I think a lot of players were probably going to be like quick to assess that, yes, like, this doesn't really make sense. Like, this change provided high defense. You're the one that released the balance patch. Like, how did this get past internal testing, and then we made a change after the fact? Like, I don't, like, there's no, again, I don't see any commentary even from down below in the comment section talking about like Mort being super impactful. Like, no commentary, like, you know, like, no commentary towards Mort is like, oh, Mort is super OP. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, none of these comments are even negative, in my opinion, towards Mort. And they all, if anything, feel that he needed a buff from that comment. And I think it's just a little bit weird that they decided to go with this direction. I mean, I'm sure that they won't make a third change to him, unfortunately, but I just think that the wording of it makes this feel a little bit more icky, if anything, because it feels a bit more difficult to defend when basically their explanation is, we just think he's a little bit too strong despite being the ones that released him. When did you realize that he became strong, like too strong? Like, what part of this, between like when it was posted on the 27th and now on the 2nd, that you felt like this was too strong? I don't even think did they have more testing whatever the case is, it is what it is. again, I think moaning and groaning about it is sometimes not the best way to go about it, but also Smogate, we could do a little bit better than an explanation that we gave. Anyways, though, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Appreciate you guys for supporting the content. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, comment, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe. Whatever this title of the video ends up being, it is like an emergency change that they decided to do. I don't think it's DEFCON 5. I'm gonna put this in the video right now. I don't think it's, you know, all hands on deck, you know, every emergency, like, but it is, again, a significant change. It does affect the way that he plays in some way, shape, or form, but I still think he's gonna be good. So those are my thoughts. Anyways, yeah, that's gonna be it. Good night, good afternoon, goodbye.